नमस्कार साथियों, welcome again at Lit eCity, the YouTube channel where videos are uploaded to help you in your English literature studies and especially designed for preparation regarding NTA and NET. We are at present going with MCQ Marathon, a course where 5 questions are daily asked and test your preparedness for 20th century. And today we will begin with our first question, that is, what does the title Slaughterhouse 5, which is a dystopian novel by Kurt Vonnegut, and what does this title Slaughterhouse refer to in the work? Or in other words, we can say, what does this term Slaughterhouse 5 means in regard to with regard to the novel? And our options are a prison for war captured soldiers. The next one is a mental hospital for traumatic soldiers. Third option is a planet where the protagonist is taken, and a zoo where prisoners of war are kept and tortured. Dear friends, Slaughterhouse 5 is a very popular and talked about novel, postmodern novels, which presents the horrors of the war through the central character, who is kept in a particular place after he is captured in the war. And Slaughterhouse 5, it is basically, the answer is, it is a prison for war captured soldiers where they are tortured, mentally tortured, and they are basically reduced to machines. What happens after, it is very interesting, and also a very dystopian take, because there involves many voices. There is also reference to a planet where these soldiers are taken. Okay, moving to our second question. By Grand Central Station, I sat down and wept. It is an evocative celebration. It is an evocative celebration of the beginning of the novelist's long relationship with the poet George Barker. So it's a sort of, we can say, autobiographical reference by the Canadian novelist in this particular novel. And the options you have to pick are Elizabeth Smart, Jan Martel, then we have Lucy Maud Montgomery, and Margaret Lawrence, all very well known of the Canadian literature, which is also part of the earlier erstwhile Commonwealth literature, but which now stands a very flourished literature. Some great names are related with Canadian literatures, which you must study. The prominent among them, these four, and Rohinton Mystery, and obviously we have Margaret Atwood. Okay, Jan Martel, if he has become very much famous after a movie is made on his very celebrated novel Life of Pi. If we talk about Lucy Maud Montgomery, she is writer of famous children book Anne of Green Gables, which was published in 1908. And Margaret Lawrence, please remember, she is a very important name, and for NAD, I am giving you an information. She is famous for her Manawaka novels, for example, The Stone Angel. The Stone Angel. Remember this term, Manawaka novels. Manawaka is a fictional place, and our answer is, now you can have a guess, it is Elizabeth Smart, who wrote By Grand Central Station, I sat down and wept. Okay, question number 3. One of the most controversial novels of the 20th century, Lady Chatterley's Lover by D.H. Lawrence. It has been printed with different titles. Which of these is or are not among them? Okay, we all know that when it was initially published, it was censored, and it was not allowed to be published in Britain, then in US, and there were many, we can say, copies which were stealthily published until a court case happened, and the publisher won the case. After that, it was published. So the options we have are the first Lady Chatterley, then we have John Thomas and Lady Jane, then we have Tenderness and A Purpose of Lady Chatterley's Lover. So apart from Lady Chatterley's Lover, there are more titles with which it has been published. So which among them is not one of them? Is it only third, Tenderness? Is it third and fourth? Is it only second, John Thomas and Lady Jane? Or is it second and fourth, John Thomas, Lady Jane and Apropos of Lady Chatterley's Lover? Dear friends, let me tell you that this about this particular title, Tenderness. Tenderness was the initial title which D.S. Lawrence thought for this novel, but he never published the novel with this title. So yes, third is an option. Then A Purpose of Lady Chatterley's Lover is actually defense by D.H. Lawrence. It was published as a defense of his writing, of his theme, of his treatment of the sexuality in the novel. So yes, it is actually a title, but it is not the title of the novel. Both these titles, the first Lady Chatterley, John Thomas and Lady Jane, these are very much valid title under which this book has been published. So our correct answer is third and fourth are not the titles under which Lady Chatterley's Lover has been published. The first novel of the writer explores quintessential Caribbean themes of cultural displacement and fragmentation and the relationship between nationality and colonial or political subjugation. So you have to tell about the first novel of this Caribbean writer, and we have the name of the novel is In the Castle of My Skin. Then we have The Lonely Londoners, then we have Annie John and The Intended. All these are great works, all these are very much hyped and critically acclaimed work of Caribbean writers. They all actually present this particular theme, but we have to talk about the first novel, first thing you have to remember, and then for colonial or political subjugation at the Caribbean itself. In the Castle of My Skin, if we talk about this novel, it is written by George Lamming. Remember the name of these writers, their works. You may go to find questions among them. The Lonely Londoners, it is a very highly praised novel by Sam Salvan. Then we have Annie John, it is by Jamaica Kincaid. Which is once again a name of Rakan in Caribbean literature, and The Intended is by David Dabydeen. Okay, but The Lonely Londoners, it is a groundbreaking because it used creolized English, or we have already discussed in one of our MCQ marathon, nation language. Annie John, it is about the growth of a girl in Antigua, which is once again an island in the Caribbean. The Intended, it is a story of a young Asian student abandoned in London by his father. And our right answer is In the Castle of My Skin, which is by George Lamming. And now we come to our last question of the day, which is Lanark, A Life in Four Books, is a leading Scottish postmodernist novel which tells the story of Duncan Thaw. Duncan Thaw is name of the protagonist, an art student growing up in post-war Scotland, and his afterlife as a Lanark who becomes an ambassador traveling from the Institute, which is a research center and seat of political power, to the threatened city of Unthank. Look at the name, special name Unthank, which is a phantasmagoric world of twin of Glasgow. And who is the writer of this particular postmodernist novel in which the element of realism and gothic and we can say fantasy, they all are mixed? So first option is Elzidare Gray, second one is Ian Banks, third one is Irvin Welsh, and the last one is William Boyd. four great writers of the new Scottish postmodernist literature. If we talk about Ian Banks, we have already dealt with him in some previous questionnaires, and he is famous for his novel The Crow Road. Irvin Welsh or Train Spotting. Once again, the novel became a topic of high debate after it was made into movie, and it is about a friend. It published in 1993. It is about friends of the friends or group of friends who are basically heroin users and engage in destructive activities. And if we talk about William Boyd, he is writer of A Good Man in Africa, sorry, A Good Man in Africa. All these are postmodernist works, and among these, Elsie Dare Gray is the writer of Lanark, which is once again very highly acclaimed novel. Okay, dear friends, this is all for today, and I hope you are making notes of all these great writers, all these important new writers and their works, because definitely they are going to help you when you will sit down and have your paper of the net. Thank you, dear friends.